Hello, everyone. It's yet another week with your downsizing challenge, and I hope you're not getting sick and tired of me yet, and I hope you're not regretting any of this. I hope you're seeing some real progress being made. And today we're going to talk about paper, because it's something we've kind of left to the end here, because this, for many people, can feel like a mountainous job. I know, at least in my house, owning a business, it means I have to keep records for a long time. So paper builds up really quickly in my house. So today I have Karen Murdoch from Your Organized Friend, who's going to share her tips for sort of tackling and managing and corralling all the paper that's a significant piece of our downsizing challenge.
Thanks so much, Jolene. You know, it truly is one of the biggest issues facing people is paper. We become very connected to it. If we're anything at all like myself, and you're a little bit of a geek when it comes to learning, and you're always looking to find new things, we have it sitting around. So what I'm going to talk about today is there's 3 categories to papers. So we're going to touch on that, and we're going to touch on how much space should it actually be taking in your home. Oh, here we go. I'm moving things around here. So this is a file box, okay? So this little file box could probably hold all the papers that you need to keep.
Darn.
Yeah, a little scary. You own a business, you're allowed 2. You're allowed one for personal and business.
There might be 3, 4, or 5 of those, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, because obviously the big thing is that we need to downsize our papers, especially when we're getting ready to age in place or if we're looking at moving. And I'll tell you a quick little bit about how we often go into homes, maybe as part of our estate cleanup services, or sometimes just working with seniors who are ready to downsize all their papers. And it's not unusual at all to find that they have every bank statement and every utility bill since they lived in that home. And we could be going back 40 to 50 years.
Yeah.
And there's really no reason to retain that. Those are kept as reference for them at some point. But how often are you going to be referring back to a bill or a bank statement from 40 years ago? The reality is maybe a year, unless you're using your home for business purposes.
Yeah.
So I think you have to look at how digitally aware. Are you pretty savvy with your computer? Because a lot of people are now receiving their information digitally. If you're not there and you still like to keep your paper, there's no reason to keep it actually any longer than a year. I prefer keeping it till the next one comes in. I compare so that the ending of the second one matches with the beginning of the next one that I just received. Then I know everything is good and I can shred. Now, that's for your reference files, but there's always going to be what I call permanent files. So that's going to include things that the family might use for genealogy in the future: death certificates, marriage certificates, anything along that line, birth certificates, baptism. So always, you're going to want to keep those. You're going to want to have a copy probably of your POA, a health directive, a will within your system. And you want to make sure that your loved ones know where those are located and where the originals are as well. All too often that is left, not spoken about, if you will. Mm-hmm. So you have those reference files. If you sold a house 5 years ago, you no longer need to be keeping all the papers regarding that home. So you need to look at how long ago was this part of my life and part of my system. The truth is that probably 80 to 90% of papers we keep and file, we don't look at. So best to get it out of there. They're just dust collectors. And honestly, depending on how much you have, it could be a fire hazard. So you need to be aware about that as well. Obviously, your taxes, most people are comfortable. I think the benchmark is 6 years. Most people are comfortable keeping 7, just to be on the safe side. And I think that's really, really important. And the third one is your action file. And that's what I usually keep at the very beginning of my file box. Any paper that I actually have to take action on. And that's why I like to put it in this cute little box, because that allows me then to put other things that may accompany it. And I go through it once a week. I go through my papers and I look at it and say, oh, you know, I was going to do this, but not this week. I was going to do this, but not this week. And maybe what happens about 6 months in is you finally look at that piece of paper and you go, yeah, either I'm going to do it this week or I'm just not going to do it. So it becomes a little bit of a to-do, a task situation, having your papers within that. So obviously, having a system of referring to your papers is just as important as having them contained in a small area. And one of the things I recommend to people when you're going through your documents, because you're going to start with a new system, it would be my ideal situation, so that starting today, going forward, I'm keeping what's in here. Then start going back and looking at all the backlog that you've kept, right? Be on the lookout for things, and it's necessary to actually go through it all, because we, in our situation, going into someone's home, we have found life insurance policies families had forgotten about. We've actually found money and gold coins stuck into the file system for safekeeping, I guess, but then we're forgotten. So it's really important to go through every single piece of paper and do it as quickly as possible. A situation right now, I'm working with a lovely widow, and so far we're 24 hours in going through all the papers her husband had kept. And she has kept probably a little bit more than this box, but the reason is that he had just finished writing a book on his life story, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have one box that's devoted to all the stories and compiling them together. So take a look at your paper, go through and sort it into different categories if you need to. A lot of it you'll just be able to take a bunch of look at it and go, no, gone, no, gone, don't need it. And this is something that you can do in the evenings, just sitting there in your living room watching TV and have recycling on one side, have a keep area close by up top, and have a shred. And one of the things I just wanted to share about shredding is that certainly anything that could identify you should be shredded, but don't feel the need to tear off the little bits to put in the shred pile, because that actually makes it harder for it to go through the shredders. So you actually don't want to do that. So you can either shred it all at home or leave it intact. There are always different events people have where you can get shredding done for free. And there's also a couple of huge companies in town that you can take your papers to for them to do the shredding.
And there's also mobile shredding companies that I've used for clients as well, where a big truck comes up, they empty everything into a bin, and you basically watch it get shredded right in your front driveway or lawn, whatever that looks like. So there's definitely lots of safe options for disposing of your confidential information. But thank you so much for this, Karen. I think all of us know that we often have paper spread out in our home. There's usually the pile of sort of everyday papers. There's usually the pile of stuff I need to file somewhere that never gets to a file cabinet. So I think this little box idea is a great way, especially if you're planning to age in place or downsize. Your family knows where your recent bills are. You know where your recent things you need to do are. And you're just not dealing with a lot of excess paper that you're going to have to spend a lot of time with down the road. So Karen, for anyone that feels they need some assistance managing that task of organizing their papers, or they are in a situation of going through an estate, how can they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch through my website, yourorganizedfriend.ca, or they can contact me by email, karen@yourorganizedfriend.ca, or give me a call or a text at 780-996-3583.
Thank you so much for your time today, Karen. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Jolene. Appreciate it.